Oh, music tip is that if I had the bass turned down too much, so all the gain went away, or with all the sound. Any experienced guitar person would have known that. Not forget that. Hello, America. World. If you watch Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, it is good to also watch the YouTube channel of Judging Freedom and to think about that name. It has intelligence sources. And people are shocked and awe regarding wars. Because the revolution you have spoken of, only heard spoken other for our founders, who communicated for us to communicate the difference between what they said and what they communicated. Because of a breaching method, Abadella sees. The breaching method had already been entrenched since before our founders were born. To use remotely through ourselves, humanity, from semi-ancient times. Sensing for itself. The same way parts of a computer are set up to sense for the program. People behind programming, and reason, logic, communicated too, tactical too, from our founders told us to communicate. For example, regarding they demonstrated us to communicate about what? The Institute of Living on the campus of Hartford Hospital has been involved with interstates and internationally since before our founders were born. They had roles with slavery entrenched North and South America before it was America. The colonies had to leave. They had to leave that entrenched, which is for the same reason, but distinctly, but non-distinctly too, from how in our schools we have to leave entrenched other things, others ourselves. Blame for what our founders told us to blame for slavery. For example, communicated for us to blame for slavery, the breaching method. Excuse me. So we're going to get before the World Trade Center, in the attack contact, compared to have roles with interstates. International were the whole same one. Manifest where people smoke and speak. For things like crimes had roles of predicate expert facts, not even a lawyer. Descriptions of names. So in other words, we have to ask also black people. How'd they get away with leaving this out on a mass scale? You wouldn't believe there's only like 350 streets in Hartford, Connecticut. So many scams under the guise of healthcare, under the guise of motivations, where people make confessions. In other words, on a mass scale, their identity law is told to lie because they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes and roles from a whole bunch of countries share here and there. By breaching that hurts them to hurt themselves because they keep where employed since semi ancient times before our founders were born. That's why in Ukraine and in Russia and America, the suburbs look exactly alike. The cities exactly alike. So we could get to countries like China and India and America, the big countries with nuclear weapons and means to transverse the earth have suits and ties, counters to them, and exceptions and inclusion where and how in other words, all locations, areas, and states communicated other than our founders communicated to communicate for themselves. Not side note. They communicated for us to talk about how the names A through Z, well, my tooth is going to fall out. I was tortured. And I did not, it doesn't mean I talked. They pretended I communicated with people who years before the World Trade Center attack and since to hide life progressions and keep pretending other in backgrounds. Interbranch every day, they're putting fake things in databases. They have on and off the state of Connecticut corrections offices on the corner of, on the edge of Hartford and Weathersfield. And on and off the state judicial offices. Collusions between campuses with conjunctions to it and the different natures of conjunctions to it and the differences of that, too. Where and how they have roles with names on all sides of criminal and civil cases as their sources, as the interbranch names, and as intelligence tied to them, even the prisons themselves, not just the prisons offices. Note the name corrections associated with them. They have predicate acts with WFSB names next to their location and next to Fox Connecticut News and next to WTNH involved with them. WTNH has faked emails. They have roles of predicate acts and evident federal evidence as crimes with child offenders tied to people on Church Street in Old Weathersfield, tied to the intelligence community and co-defendants and their family members. As co-defendants, often as former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and various natures of federal criminals, and roles with unions involved with corruption, way worse, and other unions not even noted for it yet, but tied to the same names because of like their uses of location slash S. This is military, foreign, and domestic, used remotely before our founders were born. People with their differences too, black people. We have this hyperscope. We have these needs. One way deeds, but vaccine. Turn the game down. This one. Try this. We just turn the game down and buy them. We turn the space down. I have one noise filter all the way up. it needs another filter or something to do that noise. Now we're going to turn the game back up here. And we're turn the bass louder. Different setting. It sounds dead to me. Oh, the bass, that was the wrong button. Still. Turn it. Let's try this one. You guys are saying people. These are crazy selling people. Well, so all the countries in the news with wars and means to transfer the earth, they're speaking about serious things. They have left out black people, the hyper simultaneous. all kinds of roles with mental diagnosis of people that all these countries share, and use of words like racism. They use their difference, slash S, A through Z, exactly the way the breaching method employed before our founders were born, and since some ancient times. Otherwise, that body was sensed. Black pupils, even if it's the majority of people, see the white survive. The second we hear that with black and white, any of that, any sides with these sides as told, we know instantly it is systems other. Has been since some ancient times. That's one of the things constant about all the different takes on history, but where they speak for constant or variable. It is being and has been. Tactical terror from how nature communicates regarding how it is positive to itself. Hyper additionally, not as criminal and ceaseless natures are positive. So, but that's only known. Styles blaming the causes of it, uses of it, roles with it. Nature's as nature's A through Z formally who speak for the law and spoke. No, in other words, leaving out black pupils, white survives. How nature has, shows us we have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. How it employed nature's identity for science. This is a science that makes us that have to debate things or communicate about things where we need to have the God as a variable. See, there are proofs that there was a God variable with pantheism, and so with the programming of the ancient gaming system. But I'm being forced to speak and put evidences that I'm involved with things before I do other evidence because people, even with people's family members, my mother will tell you, and it's recorded anyway, even though they're pretending other is recorded. They're pretending that I and that other kids had ties to doctors growing up and had mental diagnosis as people involved with various natures of organized crime, with grammar schools and middle schools and high schools, as people involved with Trinity College and CCSU intelligence community, foreign and domestic, whole bunch of different countries, UConn, all the campuses. It's nothing personal against them. They're planting evidences there because they're being used remotely by Hartford courts and the Britain courts too, before the World Trade Center attack. At West Hartford locations, they had collusions. These are also people, Trinity College, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have whole roles with a whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital, further involved with probate court judges and people, families on up to state judicial branch offices who are constantly using and having used people's names already, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw, a certain type of victim slash hyper victim, where and how this back names A through Z, and then further as voicings for ground, and as further simultaneously as hyper additional obligations the species body has with ground that the breaching method understood before our founders were born. And so, one way America will, or people will respect any plan that comes from America or another country for the whole species body is if it's a donation to the whole species body. But it also has to be a donation that's not leaving out other ways. No science spoke, honest and unabridged, here and there. That's why we're supposed to get the Constitution unabridged. You guys can't even answer simple questions because you're sickly distinctly from your professors, or as them, sickly distinctly from your students. And it was the same thing when you were a student. What Jim Crow laws are about, what slavery was about, how to respond to it. You gotta understand was, in other words, you left out how James Madison and George Washington had to agree to counter extort everyone else. And we we left on us to understand how they were even possible to do that because the breaching method laws had already sustained tortures, extortion, and faction nature slavery against everyone else, black pupils. So not only, in other words, it has to be simultaneous, the species donation with the one for our country. And it has to be a plan too that's giving them ones too. So they have agreed about business slash S that no one invented on their own, it's a gift. But and that's where the part comes in a new way. Otherwise, it stays used to get over on individuals. It stays used to keep styles of pretended integrity of people who speak about crime and criminality increasingly, and or the overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and or the people with the insidious logic, tactically delusions wrought till A through Z regarding the value of voting. For example, where and how that value is an application slash S, where leaned upon as styles of reason and logic, and as nature that way. You guys oh, I'm not an expert on mental health. What are you thinking for then? In other words, what are the people who are thinking for? In other words, they're tactically delusions raw. The people are mental health experts. Part of the way they've been getting away with it is because they've been putting fake things in databases with judges and prosecutors and their family members. And the differences, they have Russians involved with Americans, for example, their own against their own, our own against our own, and they hide that because they have shared roles. Like with psychiatry, while they have roles with nuclear weapons, sick roles with fire departments, sick roles with names associated with my sixth grade class, and sickly distinctly from how sick roles with my fifth grade class, involved with people with criminal enterprises before that, too, with my fourth grade class and third, and every grade before that has ties between people at different classes too. Oh, I didn't even know him in that school. I didn't even see him then, and when the ones that were in my school, and they're making fake exceptions. These are people. The sciences are a certain type of victim slash hyper victim, where this breaching method employed all data-based relationships, therefore names. And then further for the uses of names for hyper additional reasons that it also used in its employment of everyone blaming other things, others are blaming selves for things that nature demonstrates. For example, as properly discerned, reason and logic regarding what caused slavery. The breaching method that had been entrenched with more than 13 colonies, individually grouped and together, already rolls with it before our founders were born, already measuring and maintaining pollutions with those crazy laws, again, which everyone sickly distinctly, individually grouped and together, to maintain functionally, how sickly non distinctly left up by styles of logic, natures of logic, needs of logic, and natures of them. In other words, the needs of people to speak about wars, where our countries share campuses together, where the sciences' names are manifest. Tactical ulterior, from where, how, and why, really. Even our identity to law experts were used remotely, capable of being used remotely to keep on blaming on other things, others, ourselves. The real cause of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, natures, again, even those most overt. Like, why would they hide what nature's trying to communicate every moment about our natural difference slash S? And how they get away with it. I forgot his last name. Larry something, I believe. with Judge Napolitano on judging freedom. He said he said in the video people won't like people. So there are descriptions of who they like or don't or why. The only three branches of government, where and how they are being and have been used remotely at the same time with overt criminal enterprises. The kids and the adults of them share natures and identities of overt foreign and domestic intelligence too. They are pretending passions and emotions at the same moment, and they're pretending things into databases. And then when you sustain that, then they self-value roles without having been. So there's also a person they said was named Larry Martin. I never had anything to do with him in school. I never saw him in school one time. One time, he walked by in a class. I don't know if he did or not, but his name was used to make a fake exception so they would pretend I don't remember. With one of the people like named Joe DeMoro involved with Mr. Abruzzi and grammar school kids and middle school kids with overt criminal enterprises and private ones and foreign and domestic medical families, attaching little kids and themselves and their families to fake communications with themselves and others. Increasingly, people on and off the state corrections offices and on off the state judicial branch offices who have roles of predicate acts with facts, also on or off campuses coordinated. Uses of juxtaposed distinct natures of organized crime and of organized crime bodies, not just wrongdoers, wrongdoing. Predicate acts, names who use predicate acts, whole methods of that. So I was capable of discerning this because there's a pattern of timed usage /s of it in the conversations of people. And Weathersfield police have forging and switching names and lying about their motivations, including bringing their kids in to do so. So police chief Cintron has something to do with federal evidences crimes, with names on and off Elm Street in Rocky Hill that are involved with WFSB, with World Trade Center predicate acts with him, and with a whole bunch of names. Ones with the name Mendez on off Fox Connecticut News, too, as the ones on off that spot are involved, and with organized crime bodies. They have people associated with um, treatments of criminal enterprises. Former director of the FBI and his co-defendants, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence in Corrupt Organizations Act, has roles with grouping criminal enterprises as collusions, where that was set up as part of the cover-ups, where and how being used remotely, where our roles with the shell games, on off locations where databases are associated. And then further, the same way, same motivation, names tied for themselves. And then further, where the same how the sciences are manifest, no matter who is there. No matter how someone tries to care about the sensibilities of other people. That's one of the things that having that lead is increasing these styles that has that as that needing to because it has the Constitution on the bridge, it has collusion. Little kids, since I was a little kid, I was capable of explaining better than adults how to discern where and how we are now free. And it is causing negative value nature progressions, acts in nature. Nature is demonstrating this. We can all discern this. But you have people that jump into conversations using names, using their knowledge, expertise of everything. Because each of the sciences has abridged paths to it. They need to lie about what they think about value, what they think about being employed or not. Anthony Agman and his brother. Anthony Agman was in class with me one time. I never had a conversation with him. I knew his brother. They tried to make the exception and make it look like I knew Anthony Agman. In other words, I didn't respond when he tried to sell me um, acid when I was in high school. He has roles with I don't know if he can try. He didn't try to sell it. He said it like it made, implied that if I asked him, he would give it to me. But I knew that he was involved with other people that were already recorded then themselves, having been involved planting evidences with judges, prosecutors, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and child abusers. My fifth grade teacher, a Mr. Pruzzi, has roles with people with drugs, crimes, medicines, crimes with the kids, and overt criminal enterprises. Per others, I don't know, they make confessions also vertically and horizontally to complete fake conversations with people. The FBI has roles with a whole bunch of people on off Central Connecticut State University and on off Connecticut courts that have been fabricating transcripts, also with doctors personally and professionally criminally involved with them, like a Leahy family. There's also other ones that, and Anthony Agman brought up, who also have roles, switching names with doctors and with little tricks, wherein how they have the FBI and other agencies and foreign and domestic military involved on Hartford Hospital with criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, all kinds of thefts and scams under the guise of healthcare with people that aren't even healthcare, stealing, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a day when there were only three from people of Hartford, people tied to killing people from Hartford. There are not even 350 streets in Hartford. So these are also KKK and black themed identities of cops and police forms and of people who work for the courts and people who work for intelligence community, people with the name Cololo and Demoro, on off the my sixth grade class recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their intelligence community associated with them and teachers they have are involved also with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. They have illegitimate uses of their roles with South Korea and with Taekwondo places. There's a Taekwondo guy who Joe Demaro sought me out to confess, demonstrate, record, confirm. He said the guy wanted to meet me, and he brought me there. He's one of the people involved with a line of confessions tied to a Mr. Abruzzi, who also men and women I don't know the names of at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut. They brought this up. Dean Judd and his family and families of other principals are involved with the child abuser. There are ties to Korea that a Mr. Murphy had too. And Erin Murphy, I never had a personal conversation with her. There's a Kevin Harris who was reportedly her boyfriend, and he's one of the ones involved with some judges and prosecutors and the FBI and other agencies, foreign and domestic military, as these people involved also with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, also intercampuses roles with natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders, and U/S of fake motivations planting for it. There's a thing called differentially criminally foreign influence, though. You have to. That's why it's so important that you deal with them with the predicate acts with facts, with people that were never even in classes with each other. There was one exception where I was in a class with a Rick Cianfaglione, with a Mr. Neville. Years later, he's recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. And that was involved. Him, and people within it were from Hartford Hospital were involved with various natures of federal crimes with evidences, natures of identity theft, fraud, sequence shifts, attaching kids to fake ties to doctors and locations, also with judges and prosecutors, fake motivations for it, taking pictures of kids next to other kids so then they could pretend they're lying when they where and how they use time simultaneously, to hide life progressions. The investigations of there are courts associated with Paul Manafort Drive and Paul Manafort and their roles with Ukraine and Russia. Connecticut courts, names on all the state judicial branch offices, and their names rolls with these countries' identities, associated also with the um, murders of people like Greg Kyler and a guy who John Scully said was his friend reportedly. Demonstrably, they can't be approached because no one will follow mandated law. There's child of offenders involved, increasingly with confessions tied to people next to the spot of a body dumping spot of Billy Grosso. People can lie about that, especially in the context I caught them doing it with people named Dylan and tied to them. In other words, that know my name, I don't even know their name. In other words, and like Anthony, Anthony, um, there's another Anthony, and he has a sister I don't know. Also, a Detective Dylan and other intelligence people influenced them to pretend they know me. Anthony Minacchio. I had only been like a couple times to say hello to him. There's also a Nick Rucci. And so they use the intelligence community now and then, where and how they are being and have been used remotely criminally for an influence. They need to pretend other. So they use little tricks where they make fake conversations. They make a real conversation that's not even make sense. You know, they make exceptions to fake use truths as lies. These are people involved with uses of phrases like um, criminal justice, who have rules with predicate acts with facts, methods, whole methods of them. So a whole bunch of people at the spots next to the three spots at the end of the Brown Turnpike have intelligence community, foreign and domestic, overt criminal enterprises and private ones, involved with a whole bunch of names on off Hartford Hospital, like with the name Leahy, planting evidences also with judges and prosecutors, and with their patients and criminals and family members. Whole bunch of families that work at Hartford Hospital's Institute of Living, founded on the campus of Hartford Hospital in 1822, with, with slavery still entrenched north and south. So these are people with, like, if you're forced for mental evaluation for yelling, for example, they use that to hide life progressions and attach people to fake transcripts. These are people dealing with murder trials right now, where they have their roles with the Albany Avenue and with the private school like Watkinson Private School has roles with a modern pastry and with a mazzucato pastry with a Mayano family and with a Demoro family and with an Aiello family with spots next to Hartford Hospital and with businesses and houses there as names involved with child defenders. Also with former director of the FBI and Robert Luskin's defendant capacity, roles with various natures of abuses of children, elderly. There's an elderly home not far from the state corrections offices. Also has roles with one of those interstates reported street takeovers. This is also where and how there are people from Mexico and New Mexico. New Mexico is America, but Mexico, where they have them as fake sides and their differences employed by the breaching method, and then some valued roles, and that's self valued too. That means that self valued roles that's also being having been used remotely. Certain type of victim slash hyper victim. And there are countless things that we could stack to overcome this and make evolution's fruits and gifts and means out of nowhere. But we don't have one honest voice. We have also tactically delusions wrought voices only allowed heard. Otherwise, that body is sensed. For this preaching method having set up means to discern how every modern country would have to become a unity, and simultaneously would have to become natures of independence, syntactically defended, and incapable of defending that as is. and of affording to protract the short words of any individual, let alone a group, though. But only an individual can defend the order of the finite. Protracting short words with convictions made relative to what uses what is constant and or what is variable as itself. Black pupils. We have the same color eyes constantly, while constantly we have different color eyes. Constantly the fish have two eyes. Constantly the other species bodies, even the insects, have qualities, aspects in nature of awareness, of consciousness, not just of awareness. In other words, you guys are putting fake things in database on a mass scale with a whole bunch of other countries, and you're pretending that our founders left us to communicate how the branches of government were incapable of defending themselves syntactically, just like the people. Otherwise, they'd be discerned, going against how the breaching method had employed all natures of independence and unity, syntactically as collusions, with that breaching method that would break people to as you guys are broken black people. You will not let the revelations come that come from where and how. Other things, others ourselves, we're blamed and are blamed. And truths are used for lies. And regardless who's using it as a lie, because nature shows us. If someone's using questions per systems to be and stay systems, tactical terror than nature's own, which does not leave out either the smallest finite detail, which simultaneously recorded, which actually relative per group difference slash S, or the value of what came first. See, more so, the Republicans and the Democrats ask questions with the law to measure and maintain, not realized are their roles with predicate action with facts methods. Increasingly, people tied to the name Perone and Kerr have roles with the people next to the campuses and on and off campuses, putting fake transcripts, fake ties, fake natures of ties between people. And in other words, I don't know Larry Martin. And the exceptions, they have to lie about that because they're involved with people involved with World Trade Center predicate acts and sequence shifts from when I know him. And they hid what I was actually recorded when everyone was in school on a mass scale, intercities. These are people with KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, and black themed judges and prosecutors, sources, and people that work for their courts and their intimate ties. Same ones involved with Kuwaiti general and his extended family member involved with deans involved. Then they bring their family members in. There are doctors with their family members. They bring them up. These are ones also that bring each other into it because there's a Dr. Gilmore. I don't know what he looks like, associated with Christina Sioka. I believe she's a doctor now. She's involved with people from Maine. I found out it's true. She's involved with people from Maine. It's recorded from Miami, like with the name Scalora. Also involved with Weathersfield Police, FBI, State Police, people with forensics locations. Involved with predicate acts on my street, planting evidences, identity theft, fraud, slander, pretending to know me behind my back. Increasingly, Mendez police are also involved with one's named domain, involved with judges and prosecutors and their family members with foreign and domestic medical families, and involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones with timed identity theft, frauds with them, slanders with them. Also, the difference of that and their roles with a whole bunch of different foreign and domestic intelligence on off the campuses. Quinnipiac University has roles with this. They also have roles with polling. So they use that to little means to pretend fake motivations too, for the breaching method. where and how they hurt presidents if they try to make equality a factor of nature. If you try to make short words calmly, see, we don't, or in other words, or they use aggression. See, they force the presidents or leaders of other countries to use aggression or to use want to have a calm conversation exactly the way they prevent them to have it with us. The same way we're forced people, individuals force them not to because we're being shown to blame things others ourselves. Otherwise, you're not going to get a response. In other words, Mendes law is not followed for anybody. And the reasons they're not following it is not the reasons they pretend. So these are also people further with Rocky Hill campuses, but we have to get further. I have to have responses for the principal child defender's confessions and all the wire crimes they have with news with him and pretending with they have intelligence community with their kids and they have the interbranch forging and switching names and putting fake things in databases. These are also ones interstates on the Ninth Circuit Court right next to World Trade Center towers, right before the attack and leading up to it. People had been involved with post dating from inside the court and putting fake things in courts interstates at all sides of cases, the news at the same time, and the court's names and the intelligence tied to them, putting fake things used remotely need to pretend other. They do things like pretend they need to pretend that their credibility is the branches of government. They have roles, there are applications, the breaching method employed with our founders to communicate to us to mean other, to be interpreted as other, like regarding the right to protest, the right to gather. In other words, each of the rights. And we have one amendment, I believe it's the Amendment, noted by Judge Napolitano. It says we have certain rights that are too innumerable to list. And we have Marbury versus Madison, but there's proofs, nature showing us to interpret Marbury versus Madison hyper additionally and more clearly than criminal and citizen natures of definitions of them have been capable of interpreting it. Real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. Black pupils. Yeah. The means appeared. So me and others who were in the next to the World Trade Center right before the attack, with names on off it and next to it, and on off the spot next to it, Ninth Circuit, with the news too. Also, since WFSB attached me to fake conversations with them and with others about the World Trade Center, and they attached others to change conversations about that and about the outcomes of relative cases and of the value of cases where they have that recorded too, because they have names on all sides of criminal and civil cases being used to plant evidences. And they're playing this sick game where they're increasingly lying behind the back of people pretending to know them, including in legal cases to make it look like their families are a part of it. No. New Britain Superior Court has roles with rape threats and confessions before that were used to force the principal child offender. I caught them with whiting forensics before I was born, when I was a little kid, and then when I was a young adult, and now as an adult, and then it happened again, and then ongoing. The same people increasingly tied to whiting forensics have crimes at their crime scenes with their worst patients and criminals, and against innocent people too. Sandy Hook has a prison there involved also with this. Jay, what's up, buddy? Some guitar. Sounds enjoy guitar. I'm gonna try to get a better sound. Weatherfield police with other police forms that have wire crime methods where they fake conversations over the phone, and then people think when they respond to that to the conversations they did have over the phone, they think they're just be lying about that. See, police forms have the right to lie, but they use that truth for a lie, where they are criminally foreign influence, black pupils. These are people involved with sick things, uses of all locations slash S. Everywhere the species by is forgiveness is help, but is not to blame it on wrong things other than themselves. I played the drums. Maybe we should make a. I just got almost say. Well, I should say we should make a what is it called? A band of a thing that makes bands for people. A website that makes bands for people. How good is that website idea, Jay? We have to go on the shark. In other words, I'll donate this idea too. If people help me get a response from Judge Napolitano and from the judges forging and switching names with prosecutors from Weathersfield and with their family members, and I'll forgive them if they do it, not leaving out the foreign bodies involved with them since they were kids and mayors and their family members, and neighbors. I caught them using the side entrances of parks for federal evidences crimes, natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders. There are women, must be women and men now that know my name. I don't even know them. Tied to a ray cloth. They took a picture near me near Elm Ridge Park years ago, and along his paper route has something to do with people who've been planting evidences with their intelligence community at their campuses. There are proofs that they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their roles with shooting ranges. Now, these are foreign and domestic military and people that say they're related to it. One's named Scalora, who are interstates involved with the FBI and foreign and domestic, and they forced Saudis to collusions with them on off the Ninth Circuit Court, on off Central Connecticut State University with people from Weathersfield who went to my every schools each of the school I went to. There's a Ray Reynolds increasingly involved with people that live next to that school with drugs and medicines crimes, with doctors, male and female associated with him, state police, intelligence interstates, people along the Berlin Turnpike associated with state police spots, and the name Eric Jensen and his extended family members involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Overt criminal enterprises, private ones, whole bunch of different countries, intercultural, KKK, black themed people. His friends say he's involved with it. I didn't ask him. I only know he's involved with part of it. He recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Mike Roberts, people associated with locations in Weathersfield associated with him, and brought, confessed, demonstrated, recorded, confirmed. He's one of the ones with the child offenders associated with a Robert Reed and people with untimely deaths. Hartford Hospital has roles with foreign and domestic intelligence, also with people from New Britain hospitals. New Britain's hospital has roles with names next to Trinity College and names next to Central Connecticut State University, where they have intercultural connections, like with the Latino, but they have Latino police forms that train criminal justice people, people who work for the prisons, people who were speaking for the law who had no business speaking for the law. Their roles were predicate acts with facts. People with the name O'Brien, people with the name with the roles with difference, putting fake conversations in databases increasingly. When I was a kid, Weatherfield police pretended they had conversations with me, and now as an adult at the police station too, so it's recorded. Other than they pretended, and the World Trade Center attack is involved with this. And there are more guns and medicines. I mean, guns and guns crimes and drugs and medicines crimes, but poisons threats of people associated with their doctors. They run in and hide life progressions because they're all being and have been used remotely. The investigators of overt criminal enterprises have timed collusions with them. These are names like Aiello and Demoro. We're involved with Aiello's kitchen next to Hartford Hospital, not far from Demoro's Market, right next to Hartford Hospital on Franklin Avenue. It used to be there. Now it's in Rocky Hill. The difference too is involved with former director of the FBI and names like Scalora on off the World Trade Center. And Keene, he recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. A Keene family and others, which I found out after the World Trade Center, is further roles with World Trade Center attack predicate acts with WFSB and with their roles with the intelligence community training kids. Before they took oaths, they had roles with predicate acts with facts. Increasingly, Mr. Abruzzi, my fifth grade teacher, had roles with kids in my sixth grade class with a sixth grade teacher who wasn't my teacher. He was in a classroom next to me, a Mr. Burstein. And his family members are also involved with foreign and domestic military and interreligious, involved with child offenders at interreligious spots. That was also one of the things I caught them doing with the principal child offenders campus. So they have been preventing me words because they've been attaching me since I was a kid to fake conversations about what I caught them doing since I was a kid with other people. Most of the time, I didn't tell them, and I only told them what I caught them communicating more because they lie about what I communicate. Police use the right to lie where they don't have it. A police chief Cintron, that way, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He has roles with Bravo, pretending other with him, involved with the extortion of people, torture, and slavery. And he roles with Bravo Network and CNN. Well, but he also on the Bravo Network has an ad placement or community service placement. And these are people with New York City involved with psychiatry who are interstates, involved also with the leaderships of kids in Connecticut and with positions on campuses used criminally for an influence. There are people with the name Finelli. Also, I don't know. They tried to make a fake exception with a scam. He lied about what the agreement I had with him regarding a beeper that was involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones with various natures of abuses of little boys and girls that his family has roles with. I didn't know at the time it was his family too. It has something to do where he lives now on Valley Crest and how there's no street sign there, and how reportedly, and with near the Demoros and people named Schedule with the military too. They demonstrated. I never had a conversation with them. They demonstrated they need to pretend other, as roles with judges and prosecutors planting evidences, increasingly with people like Della Fera. There are judges and prosecutors in Della Fera family, and criminally foreign influence or overt criminal enterprise, private ones, with identity thefts and frauds, lying about themselves and others regarding with people at the like the shopping centers, like at Town Line Drive, where the John DeMorrow has roles with foreign and domestic intelligence, overt criminal enterprises, and private ones. Whole bunch of people with the name and tied to the name Pandolf involved there too. I never saw him there. Involved with another word. I saw him, the only time I saw him there demonstrate too. I don't know their names, all of them. No, in other words, there's ones that know my name there, associated with the intelligence community as people with spots next to the where the Weathersfield police station is now and where it used to be too. All along Church Street has roles with people involved with medical corruption who put predicate acts with fax rolls on campuses. These are people leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context since from Connecticut. Intercities planting evidences on and off campuses connected. Has something to do, Heather Hansen And the Joe DeMore recorded confessed demonstrated confirmed they have something to do with crimes with people on corners of the streets. Others recorded confessed demonstrated confirmed all along Route 175 from Weathersfield to Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut. Has something to do with people that increasingly since I was a kid affected confessions to me and to others because they make it look. In other words, there's a Justin Levinsky. I never had a class with him in my life, and he's involved with the corners of the streets all along Route 175, where they try to have people involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, trying to paint fake exceptions. They act so other people can pretend to record things. Because you have all liars pretending other people are liars, or pretending they can't keep secrets because I don't even know them, except for them seeking me out to make confessions. And that was when they're, because they're acting. They have KKK black themes. They're lying about things like that and timed roles with flag. Something to do with the narrative with the flag. Sometimes the people that influence them to do things are the ones criminally for an influence. Sometimes it's themselves, and the difference of that is also used remotely by the breaching method. That was effectively using the whole species body's volume from used remotely criminally foreign influenced / hypercriminally foreign influenced from abroad here and there, but through our own, and then grouped. It's clearer than day. Black pupils, many pray. I tell us clear alone. Species body, yeah. to her.